Hello there everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Unlimited video. Apologies for the delay in getting this out late on a Sunday night. I've been pretty busy this week, so this is basically the first time I've been able to sit down and actually do some videos. Hopefully more uploads than once a week coming soon. We've got another week's worth of set 3 reveals to talk about. I'm super excited. Just to quickly mention, I was going to make a video about the planetary qualifier prizing, but FFG did put out a statement the same day talking about how that they were going to look about basically fixing the issues. They didn't explicitly say what issues, but they did also say they were going to be talking about fixing it for this season, so I have to imagine they are specifically talking about the prizing rather than the number of events or anything like that. So we will see what happens with that, and I'm not going to make any statements or judgments until we have a full picture of what it's actually going to be. Though if you did want my initial thoughts, they're on my Twitter, which you can find linked in the description below. But let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to do a little correction. So from last time, sorry, I didn't really think about this, did I? Let's move this over here a bit so you can see it slightly better. So I think I was a little bit harsh on this card. Having reread it basically in the time since I made the video. This is a 3/3/4 for space, so it's good. I think I kind of just my eyes kind of glazed over the stat line a little bit when I was saying, oh, it's probably mid, whatever, right? Like the ability is fine. Actually, it's a 3/3/4 in space, so like in green especially, which does not have good space. So actually this is really good. I apologize for saying something really stupid last time. This is my correction. Yeah, I think I must have, I don't know why my brain just didn't compute. I don't know what I did. Yeah, just a certified silliness moment. Let's go down now to the new cards, and we're going to start off with Elite P-38 Starfighters. This is a 3/3/2 with when played and when defeated you may deal 1 damage to a unit. So this is sort of like a crap version of the 6-cost red Ruthless Raider, which I think is a really strong card. So me saying this is a crap version of a really good card is like not necessarily an indictment of this card, though I mean 3/3/2 in stats is really not good, but it is going to be guaranteed 2 damage, plus you're getting a 3/2, so like it's kind of like a 3-cost 5/2. Would we play a 3-cost 5/2 in space? Probably. We probably would. So, I mean, depending on the deck. So, I don't know. I'm a little, like, there is some versatility there in being able to, it does damage across, you know, ground and space. You know, it's a 3 attack body in space, which is great because this is going to be able to trade with 4 HP units in space if you go into one of those, so it does trade into that, and you also get the benefit of like a 1 extra ping. So this is probably actually quite good. It kind of reads not great, but I feel like it probably is quite decent. All right, next we got Bloodsport. So this is a 3-cost red event. It says deal 2 damage to each ground unit. So this is an interesting card, right? And because clearly this is like another one of Red's many silver bullets to a particular thing, right? Like we have Power Failure, we have Bombing Run, and now here we've got Bloodsport. Now, Bloodsport to me seems to be a lot better at dealing with these sort of go very wide strategies because it comes out on turn 2, right? So this is way cheaper. Like Bombing Run, to me, the fact it comes out on turn 4 is like way too slow. And so it was always going to struggle a little bit. Now this is ground arena restricted, so you're not going to be blood sporting in space. And it's also going to do damage to your own units, which is another potential issue. Now that being said, I think there is potential here in a metagame where we have token units all over the place. And I think really that is what is going to determine the playability of this card. Well, I mean, we'll talk about new leader reveal in a moment, which obviously is going to be quite good with this card. But like, you know, in generalities, if we are going to see a large amount of really good token generation to the point where like actually that is where the meta shifts, and like at least a good chunk of the meta decks are, you know, using them en masse and like not basically killing them off. So basically not just exploit decks where they're just going to sack them all like the same time they come out. Then I think this has potential. It's a typical sort of silver bullet kind of card where it's like, okay, well, in a particular meta this will be insane, and most of the time it won't. There's a lot of yapping for a card that's not that crazy. All right, Kid Fisto, the Smiling Jedi, one of my favorite characters. So it's a 6-cost 7/6, so pretty big. So those are Wrecker stats. But what does he have? He's a Saboteur and Coordinate on attack, deal 3 damage to a ground unit. this is very much just Wrecker at home vibes. So it is generic red, it is force traded, it is Jedi traded, and it does have Saboteur. And I don't think those are things necessarily to sleep on, but this card is pretty bad in a non-limited environment where you don't have ECL. I think like where you have ECL, this card is suddenly very, very scary, especially if you're doing it with Coordinate. You can snipe out 2 things, and that could be really, really strong. Obviously, he's got a pretty big stat line. I mean, he's a little understated, it has to be said, for his cost, but still, right? Like, I mean, 7 attack is really big, and fundamentally he answers leaders, right? He answers most leaders who deploy on 6, so there's things to like here. I don't know that there's that much to like, though, that, like, you know, I just look at this and I go, okay, but I'm just going to play Wrecker. Like, I'm happy to lose the resource for the sheer amount of value Wrecker gives you. So, yeah, I don't know. If this was also on play, I think there would be something here. If this Coordinate on play, on attack, I'd be like, okay, we're cooking here, this is pretty strong. Because then, like, the ECL Mini is a bomb. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this is a pretty average card, but there is potential, I think, you know, where we have a meta where this coming out on 6, ECL'd in, like, has a particular value, then, yeah, but outside of that, it's pretty niche. Okay, right, we have our next leader. Well, this is Mace Windu. Let's talk about his front side first. So, he's red-white. Action 1 and tap, deal 1 damage to a damaged enemy unit, then if it has 5 or more damage, deal 1 damage to it. So this is interesting, right? This is pay 1 to, in some cases, right, this is going to be Daring Raid without a card. And in other cases, this is just going to be like, just a ping 1. How good is that? Well, the unit needs to already be damaged, so you're not going to use this with Tarkin Town for some fun shenanigans and just immediately kill whatever your opponent plays. Fine. That being said, this is going to potentially just, like, this is kind of like extending your reach, right? Now, this is unequivocally worse than, like, the Vader ping, for example, right? Like, but I don't think this is bad. Obviously, I think this is very much like you have to build around it, like, build with this sort of thing in mind. But I think there's potential for this ability to, especially when you're getting into the later game and now you're dealing 2 extra damage, right? And so the unit needs to have 4 damage on it for you to deal the 2 damage to it, right? And you can think about, like, breakpoints in the game and, like, well, 5 and 6 HP, 6 HP in particular is a pretty common one where, like, actually being able to hit that is really valuable. And you can imagine, right, like this in combination with one of your many 4/6s of your own, so you play in your 4/6 and then you swing into it in the next turn and you get to use 1 and then clear it out. That's potentially valuable. We need to see more support around this. I think I'm optimistic, though. I don't think this is bad. But if we look at his flip, so he's Vader stats, right? Comes out on Vader stats. We know that's good. So, okay. And when deployed, deal 2 damage to each damaged enemy unit. So, this is potentially very strong. Potentially very, very bad, right? Like, because you can maneuver this into being a board wipe, right? Like, okay, that's absolutely nuts, right? If this comes in and it board wipes, this is insanely strong, arguably one of the best leaders in the game. If this comes in and it does nothing, it's not great at all. So I think this is going to be something where we just need to see that support coming in. I mean, you know, it's worth saying, right? Like, if we, like this, like bombing run, like just, you know, dealing 3 damage to everything, or like some way, if we can get like a cheap way to just ping everything for a little bit of damage, and then you deploy Mace, that's incredibly strong. So I'm hopeful. You know, I think maybe this is when heroes going to get their own equivalent of Overwhelming Barrage in this set. I think it's time. You know, Villain's been running around with it for long enough, and frankly, we will need the answer to go wide boards, being available for white decks as well as black decks. So we'll see. I am high on Windu, though. I think this is a good leader. The art cooks, and I really want to showcase. Like, this is absolutely going on my wanted showcase list. That wall is going to get very full very, very soon. Yeah, I'm high on this leader. I think there is really significant potential here. And let's take a look at his lightsaber. So, 2 cost, you've only played this Windu, really. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if the attached unit is Mace Windu, draw 2. +2, 2, +2. Right, that's good. Right now, so firstly, if we slap this onto the original Mace Windu, this is really, really scary, right? Like, you turn that Mace into a, 7/9, who's just going to go boo, 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 and, like, you know, board wipe, and then you're also going to draw 2 cards, right? Like, okay, that's pretty scary. Realistically, you are going to put this on your leader, and you're only really going to play this in a Mace Windu deck, because otherwise it's just like a, you know, Academy training. But this on a Mace Windu leader, right, like that, 7/10, it's really big. A 7/10 leader, like, again, you know, outside of something like I've forgotten the name, the 6 cost, kill anything. Outside of that, it's going to be very, very hard to deal with a card like that. And then this is going to help you refill your hand. But yeah, overall, I think in a Windu deck, this is probably going to be quite good. And obviously outside of that, I mean, it says draw 2. Like, that's really strong. Okay, next we are going to go on to Twice the Pride. So this is a 2-cost double red, +4/+0. When played, deal 2 damage to the attached unit. So this is a really, really cool card because it's usable as removal as well as for aggression, right? And +4 is a lot, like a lot. And you can imagine a situation where, like, if you're playing double red Kylo, for example, your opponent taps out and you're able to go like, okay, cool, slam this onto Toro, swing 7, restand Toro, swing 7, and you're able to do that like on 4 resources. That plus like a Kylo flip, you might feasibly have enough actions to make that happen. And so I think there is a lot of potential with this card, depending on the deck you're playing it in. I imagine we're going to see a red Anakin that's also going to be quite good in. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is really, really solid. And then obviously, like, you get the removal capabilities where, like, if something's pretty low, there's no restrictions on what you can upgrade this onto, right? So you can slap this onto spaceships. That's pretty big, which obviously is hilarious, right? Like, slap this onto a spaceship your opponent suddenly is really struggling to deal with. I think this is really, really strong. Like, another insane double red like card. I think double red is eating really, really well the last couple of sets. All right, we got our next one of the rare bases. So I think we're just missing the red one now, I think. So this is interesting. Each leader unit you control gains +1 HP. I think this is better than the yellow one, which gives +1 attack. Because +1 attack, I feel like is, yeah, so it depends how many attacks are you feasibly getting off with your leader in a game, right? I feel like it's usually 1, well, it's between 0 and like 3, between 0 and 3. So but I think usually it's more like 0 to 1, like that's usually where it is, and sometimes it's more. And so the attack, you're either getting like no value out of it or you're getting 1 extra damage. Now 4 HP for 1 extra damage is not a great trade, but obviously that's discounting the fact that you might be trading more favorably depending on the leader into your opponent's units that are attacking into it. So depending on the leader, like that's going to vary. Here we are getting +1 HP, and this I think is more directly obvious with breakpoints where potentially before where your leader was being answered in 1 action, now it just can't be, right? Like, depending on the leader, depending on the stat line, depending on when it comes out, it's such a situational thing. But as the meta shakes out and we see where those sort of breakpoints are, we're going to be able to go, okay, actually, in this scenario, Power City is going to make my leader really, really good. It's not going to be able to be answered, and so I'm going to be able to absolutely chef. And, you know, I'm naturally thinking of, like, for example, Han 2 blue, right? Like, I think this is actually really, really nice in that deck because now Kira is not going to be able to... I think Kira, yeah. No, Kira can answer it. That was Cap. But, like, it makes you 7 HP, which means that it is just going to be, like, slightly more challenging to answer that leader. My brain is being cooked at the moment right now. I'm not thinking of a great example. But I do think that, like, there is going to be there is potential for this card. It's going to be meta, like it's going to be a meta dependent thing, right? Like, and we're going to see how the decks are built around it. And I think this and the yellow one is very much meta dependent, whereas the green one and then presumably the red one, whenever we see that, is going to be deck dependent as to how good that is. That's a lot of yapping for me to say has potential. All right, we got a couple of bad cards here. This is a 2-cost 3/2. It's Viper Probe Droid without the upside, but it has good traits. So, okay, this isn't bad. It's a 3/2. This is a 3-cost 3/2 with Ambush. This is bad. Don't play this. Okay, so here we've got another one of the best cards in the game that Sabine is getting to add to its deck. This is a 3-cost 2/5 with Restore 1, and each other hero unit gains +0/+1. So this is absolutely ridiculous, right? Like, this is crazy. Sabine becomes a 2/6. Wrecker becomes a 7/7. Poe becomes a 6/7. Like, it's like comedic, right? Like, how insane this card is. This is going to be another one of those chase rares for sure. This card is nuts. This card's absolutely nuts. It's official for what that's worth if that comes up, and it's Republic traded again for what that matters. What a card. This is categorically one of the best cards in the set. I mean, like, just a blanket plus 1 HP is so strong. Yeah, good thing you can't get multiple of these out. All right, next. Okay, so this is the PQ stuff. We'll, again, later. But we did see this card on that stream, Equalized. This is a 3-cost double blue. Give a unit -2/-2 for this phase. Then, if you control fewer units than that unit's controller, give another unit -2/-2 for this phase. This is like double blue control decks is like wet dream of a card, right? Like, because typically you're going to be like not having a great deal of unit presence yourself, and this is going to give you insane control. So, firstly, like in double blue, right? I'm not supposing that you're going to play like this in a non-double blue deck. In a double blue deck, the downside is this is make an opening, which is already seeing quite a lot of play. The upside is this is make an opening on crack. Like, -4/-4 is huge. I mean, hello there, we were like, okay, there's serious potential here. The biggest downside for that card is that it's like, but it is -4/-4, but it's only if it's come in this turn. This is whenever. So I think this card is insanely strong. I don't know why Sabine is on the artwork, but like, yeah, this card is crazy. Really, really strong. I think this is going to be a tool that is, I think we're finally going to see double blue like really like making meta impact in a way that it hasn't been able to until now. I think it was closer than a lot of other things. Like Vigilance on 4 is insane, but like double yellow I feel like is the only double aspect that's been like really strong, and double green has been languishing, but like again, like all of them have had decks, but like I think we're really going to see this is set 3 is where everything feels supported enough that's like, okay, we might really see a lot of diversity in that respect. Okay, next we've got our second leader here. So this is Jango Fett. Okay, so this is yellow-black, deploys on 5. When a friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit, you may exhaust this leader if you do exhaust that enemy unit. And he comes out on 5, he's a 3/7, so yeah, Boba pushed, who could have seen this coming? When a friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit, you may exhaust that unit. So let's talk about all the reasons this card is probably very playable, and then we'll talk about the elephant in the room. So this card is very playable. 1, it comes out on 5. Huge deal. 2, 7 HP. Big deal. 3 attack. Decent. Could be 4. 4, the ability on this is happens like immediately, right? Like it's not triggered. It's like you gain the benefit instantly. And it's traded Bounty Hunter and Underworld, for that matters. Okay, now let's talk about the downsides. A couple pretty big ones. 1, how good is this ability? Tempo, right? Like this is very tempo. This is you going, I don't even remotely care about like you retaining like your board. This is me going, I'm going to kill you as fast as humanly possible. And to do that, I'm just going to exhaust your board like every turn for the first like 5-6 turns, and then after that, like you are just going to kill me because I'm out of gas. But hopefully I've killed you before then. That's the way this looks like it's going to be to me. So how good is that ability? I think you're very, very narrowly construed into kind of deck style this is, unlike Boba. Obviously, second reason, biggest reason, elephant in the room, why would I not just play Boba? We have yet to be given the reason. Though, worth saying, of all the yellow-black leaders we have seen to date, this has the greatest chance of actually seeing some proper play because it has Fire Spray, right? Fett's Fire Spray, for those you don't remember, is usable in Boba Fett and Jango Fett. So, hey, let's see, all right? We're probably going to get a legendary Jango Fett unit in this set. It would make sense, right? We got a Boba Fett unit in set 1, so, hey, let's keep an eye out. But, anyway, how... I think the other thing is, like, how are we going to realistically enable this, right? Like, and obviously, we can look back at a lot of the other older bounty hunters, and go like, okay, there is potential here. Like, oh, we can see these, like, there's all these little ones that ping, and they're bounty concentrated, and okay, all right, maybe there's something here. Like, clearly they've been slowly giving us the support for it, but I really think this one's going to be hard to evaluate until we see what they have, right? But I would not write it off. I think anyone writing it off is nuts. Okay, next we got On the Doorstep. So this is a 4-cost, create 3 battle droid tokens and ready them. So this is interesting, right? This is going, okay, let's assume the battle droid tokens don't get immediately killed. This is going, deal 3 damage to your enemy, to your opponent, and then start exploiting, right? That's really what you're going to use this for. You're creating that board presence. I suspect this is bad. I suspect this isn't going to be good enough. Like, do I really care about having my battle droid tokens ready? They're 1/1s. Like, if these were 2/2s, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is something like to look at. But, I would much rather this cost like 2 and just made the tokens like exhausted, and I'd be like, okay, now we're cooking. So we'll see. My inclination is this isn't going to be anything particularly crazy. All right. Next up, we'll go do the legendary after. We've got Clone Heavy Gunners as a 2-1-3 coordinate to become a 3-3. So with coordinate on, this is amazing. With coordinate off, this is garbage. And I really think we are just going to need to see a leader that makes coordinate easy, or this is going to be a mechanic that ends up being a lot better in practice than it looks like on paper. I'll provide some sort of general thoughts on coordinate at the end of this video. I think that's worth discussing. Aayla Secura. No, I was racist. Aayla Secura. So this is a 6-5, coordinate for 5. Coordinate on attack, prevent all combat damage that we've dealt to this unit for this attack as legendary. So, with coordinate on, this is Han Solo 2 turns earlier with ECL. That's a lot of ifs, right? With coordinate on, I think it is fair to say this card is insanely strong, right? You ECL it on 5. It deletes whatever it attacks, basically, and then every turn after that, it is going to like sit there, and it's going to be a really threatening beat stick. And if your opponent's going to hit it back, they're going to get hit back for 6. Okay, downsides, because there are numerous. 1, this gets hit by takedown. 2, the coordinate has to be on. 3, do I really want to be burning my ECL on, like, putting an ECL target in my deck that isn't going to be able to do anything half the time? Now, I say that. Well, we were happy to do that with Steadfast Battalion, because even though like the leader had to be out, and sometimes your leader would just die, and you wouldn't get the value. Possible. I don't know how to evaluate this card, because if Coordinate is reliably online, I think it's really strong. If Coordinate is reliably offline, this is garbage. So we'll see, right? It's really going to come down to Coordinate. All right. Next up, we've got my favorite card in the set so far, General Grievous. So this is a 3-cost, blue, black, 4/4, Separatist Official. Ignore the aspect penalties on each lightsaber upgrade you play on this unit. On attack, if this unit has 4 or more lightsaber upgrades attached to him, defeat 4 enemy units. This is so fucking cool, right? Like, this card is unequivocally one of the coolest cards in the game. I am absolutely gutted that this is not what the leader did, right? Like, just imagining that deck has me salivating, because you could have reliably just sat there and gone, okay, cool, it's a leader. I really hope you have an answer to this, because otherwise I'm going loads of lightsabers, swing, board clear. It was probably too strong. My suspicion is it was actively too strong to have this on a leader, and so they've downgraded it to a unit. What can you do? I mean, look, let's pretend this card is a blank text box, right? Like, so, like, really, okay, the way I'm evaluating this card is, what's in the text box is absolutely outstanding flavor. I love it more than anything. The reason we're playing this card is it's a 3-cost 4/4 with no downside. And that's good enough. That's genuinely good enough. 4 HP on a on 3-cost. It's a breakpoint, because most of the really good 3-costs we've seen in the game are 3/5s, right? We've only ever seen 4/4s with a downside, so this is clearly something good. This gets pulled out by Vader, right? Like, another insane reason. So these green, blue, black villain control decks, right, are getting another insane Vader target. Just a really strong card. And obviously, like, Separatist and Official traded, we'll see how much those matter. So we are playing this for sure, completely ignoring the fact that it has a text. And the text is likely irrelevant outside of fun decks, but God, I'm building a fun deck for this. And let's talk about the next card, which is another just outrageously good piece of flavor. Okay, I'm just going to talk about it first. Like, I just want to talk about this. A fine edition, 0-cost blue-black. If an enemy unit was defeated this phase, play an upgrade from your hand or from any player's discard pile, ignoring its aspect penalty. This is so cool. It's so cool, right? Like, thematically, you have defeated your enemy who has a lightsaber, and you then get to steal the lightsaber. You don't pay the aspect penalty, whatever have you, right? Now, how good is this going to be? This is the definition of a really broken in a particular meta and really bad outside of that kind of card, right? I mean, basically, you can imagine a situation where if there is a lightsaber that is insanely meta, right? Like, stupid meta, and it just sees play in every deck that can play it. Being able to steal that is really strong, right? Like, being in a color that maybe doesn't have access to it, or being in a color that does have access to it and having double of them, right? Being able to take your opponents is really quite good. So I think in that scenario, this will probably see play. And hey, in the build around Grievous decks, it probably will see sideboard play or something, at bare minimum, because, like, why, like, you have to pay the cost for the upgrade, right? Like, you know. So this is probably not going to be like anything nuts, but the potential is there for it. And fundamentally, it is a free card. Like, yes, you have to pay the cost for the item. So how free is it really? To be seen. But in terms of the flavor between this and General Grievous, they have absolutely nailed Grievous. Synchronized Strike, this is just kind of a Akbar effect, but like, I feel like I'd rather just play Akbar. I don't know. We need, again, like this is one of the cards where like with Coordinate, suddenly if you just go 2 cost, like deal 9, yeah, that's good. Obviously, that's good. So it remains to be seen, right? Okay. And then our most recent card reveal, as of literally, what, like half an hour ago, the time of this recording, Clone Commander Cody. This is a 5/4/4, bad start, Overwhelm, Coordinate, each other friendly unit gains +1/+1, and Overwhelm. I mean, credit to the card. If the Coordinate's not online, I mean, the buff wouldn't matter even if it, you know, anyway, right? Like, okay, whatever. I have no idea how to evaluate this card. I have no idea how to evaluate this card. It's bad stats for the cost, right? Like, you're losing out on 2/2 of stats. For what? We get Overwhelm and this potential board buff. Like, obviously, if Coordinate is online, then yes, you're getting those stats value, so it's worth it. But if Coordinate's offline, let's just talk about Coordinate now to sort of round out this video. Coordinate is, like, the most frustrating mechanic in the world for me because, like, I can see how it's going to be good in Draft and Limited play, right? Like, clearly it's going to be good there. But did they really design an entire mechanic that is basically completely unusable in Premier play, which is most of the play people are going to be doing? I would hope not, right? I mean, and the thing is, like, we're not going to know until we actually have the cards and we can sit there and we can go, right, let's give it a go. Let's see how good these cards are. If turning on Coordinate is really easy and actually it's genuinely an uphill struggle for your opponent, like once your Coordinates are online, like it's kind of hard for them to keep them offline, this is going to be crazy, right? Like these decks have so much potential. But if that's not the case, if your opponent's, like, it feels like a sort of tempo thing, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm going to square out as large a board as possible, and then I'm going to start playing threat, and they all build on each other, and okay, yeah, answer my little dudes, but by now, my little dudes have become bigger, and also they're bigger, but like I've now been playing lots of big dudes, and like, oh, my leaders come out, and like, oh, look at me go, like, whoa. Who knows? I think we just have to wait and see, but I think, like, I know there's a sentiment in the community to, like, just generally really hard downplay Coordinate, and, like, I think from a objective card gamer standpoint, in historically speaking, these kind of effects that have been dependent on having a certain amount of board presence have very rarely in my card game history been that good. But Star Wars Unlimited isn't like other card games, and I just don't know that we can write off the mechanic without trying it out, right? And I think, like, that's why whenever I see the Coordinate things, I'm like, okay, with it on it's crazy, with it off it's not. Is that the trade-off, right? Like, is that how they're designing it? Like, if you actually get Coordinate to last, like, you are just going to win that game because it's so crazy. But, like, not in all the cases. A lot of the time, the Coordinate's just kind of meh. But, you know, whereas, like, if you don't, like, if Coordinate just bricks, then you're just cooked. A lot of leaders still to see. I think we've seen about half the leaders and coming up to half the set now. So we've got a lot more to see still. A lot of legendaries to see, a lot of rares. So definitely lows to see. You should subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing these sort of weekly summaries unless something comes out that's absolutely nuts and I have to talk about it on that day. And I have time to record a video about it. Then, yeah, keep an eye out for that. Subscribe. Check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel. I'll be putting out a meta-analysis for PQ season on Patreon. So please do keep an eye out for that. Thank you to my patrons for your support. It's very much appreciated. I appreciate things have been a little tough recently with the uploads, but life has been a little crazy. And yeah, keep an eye out for that video on the PQ pricing. So this should be a two week upload week if FFG put out that statement, and we'll be able to critically evaluate how good the PQ pricing is. But that is a topic for another time. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Cheers.